of Livingstone Bramble. Great boxer back in the day, man. And so I guess he's talking about the comparison between father and son. That's the type of thing that comes with it. I mean, you being the son of a famous athlete, there's always going to be those comparisons made to some degree. From Miss Mocha Bella X Squad, hey, Mocha Bella, happy Woman Wednesday to you. Today is your day. From LeVar, she says LeVar Ball needs to leave other kids alone and focus on his 3 kids. Ducking and dodging, he says he could have said what he said without mentioning LeBron's name, just speak in general. Right. That would have been the better way to go. I agree with that. And you could have just gave examples, made a general point of how a lot of times, kids can't live up to their father's name. You remember when Michael Jordan's oldest son came out of high school, and he's Michael Jordan's son, and he ended up playing basketball at Central Florida. I think both of his kids ended up playing small-time college basketball. But, I mean, can you imagine being Michael Jordan's son and what's expected of you on the basketball court? It's very hard to live up to. It's damn near impossible to live up to. It's damn near impossible to live up to being the best basketball player of all time. Think about all of the people that have played basketball in their lives. And so his kids, one of them played or ended up playing at Central Florida. And the other kid, I can't remember. The older one ended up playing, I can't remember, and I'm not going to look it up right now. I'm not going to even ask Alexa that. That's too hard of a question to frame. But it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough. Let's see. From Cornelius Small, he made Dell Curry seem like a chump. Dell was that shooter that everybody respected. No, he wasn't a superstar, but you expected his boys to be just as good. I guess his point is Dell Curry wasn't the player. They're talking about Steph Curry being the greatest shooter ever. I'm kind of hesitant to say that. A lot of people that are more knowledgeable about the game, a lot of people that are in tune with the game. Mark Jackson's been saying it forever, that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are the best shooting backcourt of all times. So Dell Curry wasn't that, but Dell Curry was a solid player. Dell Curry was, solid journeyman. He was kind of like a hired killer. He'd come in and shoot 3-pointers. He was a spot-up 3-point shooter. He was good, but he wasn't Steph Curry good. From Chuchi, daughter of Lethal Weapon, he says, I can imagine if Jordan's kids try basketball, the coach is constantly saying ish like, why aren't you like your dad? Kid demoralized and hampered it, getting better. From Sydney, Oprah, Side Boob Jackson. Wait a minute. Oh, he's got a picture of Oprah Winfrey and just one of her boobs. He says Jordan's son didn't do good because his daddy, Horace Grant, wasn't that good. What? Wait a minute. Are you saying that Horace Grant was on sneaking around with Michael Jordan's old lady? Come on, bro, man. You can't just throw nothing out there without any proof or anything like that. Is that like a rumor in the Chicago area? From Big Apple Bastard. Welcome back to the show, Big Apple Bastard. Speaking of which, man, I understand that you buried your father, man. Condolences and prayers to you and your father, or to you and your family. A lot of times you're an asshole on this show. But I mean it from the bottom of my heart, man. And one of the Stewies mentioned it to me yesterday that your father had passed, man. So once again, condolences and prayers to your family. So Big Apple Bastard says, all LB is saying is that superstars' kids usually fail under the enormous expectations, and the Jelly Bean Bryants of the world kids excel because they don't have to live up to their father's career, which would average to below average at best. Kind of like the point I was making earlier. Is a lot of times I understand the whole point about a guy can't amount to Michael Jordan or a guy can't amount to Magic Johnson. Speaking of Magic Johnson's son, EJ is never going to amount to the basketball player that his daddy was. I'm fairly certain that EJ is never going to be the basketball player that his daddy was. So, yeah, the very high-level guys, it's hard to expect anybody to meet their level. But I do see, and I've seen it before, even in my particular case, like a lot of times we'll see a younger brother take it to a higher level than the older brother. And usually that's the case because the older brother is able to pass on knowledge about what to do and what not to do. Perfect example, me and my brother. My first cousin, or my cousin Spence Scott and his younger brother Steve Scott, same type of thing. I can name countless, situations where a younger brother, usually gets the benefit of the older brother and takes to the next level. I always talk about my cousin John that played with me back in the day. We grew up together, and John should have easily been an NFL player for a very, very long time. One thing or another, it didn't happen, but his son is not only benefiting from his daddy being through the experience and playing basketball in college and football in college, but he also has me talking to him about, the things that he should do and not do. My brother Ryan has talked to him over the years about the things that he should do and shouldn't do to make it to the next level, and he's probably going to get drafted fairly high here in the next month in the NFL draft. So I understand the different sides and the different ways to look at it, man. From Cornelius Small, he says LeVar Ball don't care about the better way to say anything. He says what he feels, and he calls it how you see it. Yeah, he has no filter. I mean, absolutely none. Norman, download my app, Carter. He says if LeVar Ball didn't mention names, then we wouldn't be talking about him today. That man knows what he's doing. That's the other side of this thing. I mean, there's like three sides I've already talked about. LeVar Ball is keeping himself, first of all, in the conversation. And at the same time, his sons are in the conversation as well. His sons are getting a lot more conversation, whether it's good or bad. And there's this saying that's been said for many, many years, maybe forever, that any press is good press. There's no such thing as bad press. And LeVar Ball is going to get drafted, or Alonzo Ball is going to get drafted top 2 or 3 pick. And if they advance further in this tournament, man, he could be the number 1 pick in the draft. I mean, he's got all of the skills. We talked about this a lot. The kid can play. And I don't think a smart basketball organization is just going to discount or is going to downgrade a player because their daddy got a loud mouth. And I've said that before a couple of times. I don't think that's the case, period. All Alonzo Ball has to do when he has interviews with these teams and with these GMs and these scouts is, listen, man, I don't know what's the matter with my daddy. I love him, but that man got no filter. That's all he has to do. That's all he has to do. That's all he has to do is say, listen, I mean, just really minimize the whole conversation. Man, that's my daddy. If you got a question, you got anything you want to ask my daddy, ask him. He's been off the chain his entire life. I'm used to it. Has nothing to do with me, how I play the game, and what I'm going to give to you and your organization on that basketball court. It's as simple as that. Next question. From RC, rarely do fighters' kids surpass their father's success. Hector Camacho Jr. couldn't do it. Neither could Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Floyd Mayweather Jr. was one of the rare ones because he surpassed his dad and his uncle. Great points. I'm not sure about Camacho Jr. I don't think that I've ever seen him actually have a fight. And I don't know what level he was in his fight career, but I don't even remember seeing him really. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., solid, but he ain't his daddy. And Floyd Mayweather Jr. I mean, that's the example that I talked about just now. Usually a son, or a lot of times a son or a younger brother takes it to the next level because they've seen and they paid attention to and got advice from the older sibling or from the father on the things to do and not to do. And Floyd Mayweather Jr. has taken his old man, Floyd Mayweather Sr.'s boxing career to the next level. I mean, clearly. And I talked about Floyd a while back, Floyd Sr., and the fight that he had with Sugar Ray Leonard. Floyd Sr. wasn't no punk. He wasn't no punk. He's not one of the greatest of all times. There's been a ton of boxers that have come through that have had good, not great careers. But Floyd Sr. wasn't no punk. But he ain't want none of no Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah, it's all about perspective. And in this story, based on what I've seen, I think LeBron's in his right to just say, listen, dude, don't even mention or speak and talk about my kids or anything like that. I think he's well within his right, but I think the story from the media is kind of being blown out of proportion as far as what Daddy Ball said. I don't think that he said anything as far as a shot at the kids. I think he's just giving an opinion about, what he expects them to do at the next level. I didn't hear anything really deflammatory about the kids or whatever, so I don't know, man. What are your thoughts? 443820338. You can also email me at Doug@theDougStewartShow.com. Just like that, we're already at hour number 2 of the show. When we get back from the break, a little bit more of this conversation about players resting. Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr's in the news, and he gave some thoughts about the controversy. We'll talk about that. Hour number 2. We do birthdays and entertainment as well. We'll get to that. And do what we do. Don't forget, today at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on SME, we got John Fisher's Cooking with the Microwave. Patty cake microwave. Live. That's right. John Fisher Show will be live. John Fisher Show will be live. 1:05 p.m. Eastern today, right here on SME. Make sure you follow the network. Make sure you follow the network on Spreaker.com. When we get back from the break, it'll be hour number 2. Don't go away. The Doug Stewart Show.
Yeah. Swear she looks Fiona Apple circa 96 with pale ocean eyes and pink powder lips, and she could bring me to my knees like in worship, like a goddess, but she's not one. She's a rush of blood to the head and a guilty conscience. I shouldn't think of you the way I do, like all the things that I would do to you. Shit, I should be ashamed. What would my mother think? Or all my sisters and my aunties if they knew what Blondie had me craving? This is not a love song. How could this ever be a love song? There is no love, there's only animal impulse. So when I see her, when she's near me, I'm a champion, a motherfucking paladin. The way I win the fight to not pursue it, I've got my reasons. She's got me taming a hunger I've never known. The way it bubbles just beneath when I attempt to keep composed. You can almost see the beauty in how pure it is, but there ain't nothing pure about what I would do with it. I'm talking running my hands up that blouse, and bite marks is all in your neck and bending your pretty ass over that table and ripping them pennies off. The pennies wet, I probably belong in that. I can make my home in that. I'll stop there. Couldn't tell.
Been fucking with my mind. I'm not here to play your game, but I can play your God if that this whole shit with holy rain. All from in between those hips on your slender frame. Grateful.
in